Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the September 14th, 2022 Shenandoah City Council meeting. The time is 7 p.m. I see that everyone is present. We do have a quorum. We're going to stand up and say the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by, if you would like to follow us with the invocation. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Under the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. The invocation tonight is going to be delivered by Mr. Greg Caesar.
Please bow your heads in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we lift you up, Father, and we give you thanks. We thank you for the ability to be involved in useful work and for the honor of bearing responsibilities. We thank you for our religious freedoms in this government, as we have the choice, the free choice, to embrace you of our own free will and to pray. And we thank you for the gifts and prosperity that you have already bestowed on our community. Father, in the book of Romans, you ask everyone to be subject to the governing authorities, and that the authorities have been established by God. And you add that the ones in authority is God's servant and work for your good. So we also lift up and pray for the members of our city government. We pray that they have wisdom when confronted by complex issues of our times. We pray that they have patience to deal with the inevitable struggles and setbacks of governance. And we pray that they remain filled with your spirit of service and never lose love of you and love of the community. In this we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to item number 5, Citizens Forum. Citizens are invited to speak up for 3 minutes on matters related to city government that relate to the agenda or non-agenda items. Speakers are asked to stand up and approach the podium to address the council and give their name before sharing their comments. First off, we have Esther Lum.
Good evening. Tonight I want to speak about the open MDD position and make a prediction. But first, I want to commend the council for putting the list of applicants on the agenda. Because when I applied for a similar position years ago, there was zero publication or discussion of the candidates. Now, last spring, when I ran for mayor, many of the establishment voices in the city relentlessly repeated the mantra that a candidate for council needs to gain experience on either planning and zoning or MDD. Even though we have 3 current council members, McLeod, Fletcher, and Rainmaker, who had no such prior experience when they were elected. In addition, former Mayor Wheeler alluded to this unwritten tradition when he swore in Stephen Say to planning and zoning last May, or in 2021. He said with a chuckle, well, what usually happens is he'll end up being mayor. So today we have 3 applicants for an opening on MDD: Jano Houston, John Samuelson, and Jim Wallace. And all 3 appear to have excellent credentials and experience. Both Houston and Samuelson were among 16 applicants for Escato's vacated council seat. Wallace was not. In fact, Wallace stood before this council right here and suggested that a female be appointed to bring some diversity. But, of course, that did not happen. Ted Fletcher took note of the 16 qualified applicants, and he even said he would consider resigning his seat on the board so that someone else could step in. That has not happened. So here's my prediction. Tonight, council will appoint Wallace to MDD and cite his distinguished resume in support of their decision. And I'm not here to challenge his qualifications, but I will note he was a strong Escato supporter in the last election. And if he's appointed, it's just more evidence of what I call a catch-22. You are told that you must have experience to run for council, but in order to get that experience, you have to be appointed to a board. The process for appointments has consistently and predictably been weighted in favor of the majority's political supporters. So in other words, this system is set up so that it's practically impossible for anyone considered an outsider to the ruling class to be appointed to the boards, and therefore they will never get the requisite experience to run for council. This is a classic catch-22. So I want to emphasize, I'm talking about process, not any of the applicants. And finally, I find it ironic that the founders of Shenandoah wanted to ensure independence from Houston, but here we are 48 years later, and it seems like Houston-style politics are running this city. Thank you.
All right, next up is John Samuelson.
Good evening. John Samuelson, 183 Bonnie Ridge Circle. I applied for the MDD position 3 months ago, minus 1 week. After didn't win the council seat, I thought the MDD was a good position, quite frankly. So I applied for it. I did note, and I'm glad that she added the word, Mr. Fletcher said he would consider giving up his position. I thought he said he was going to give up his position, which was one of the reasons I actually applied. But that's not complaining, just making that point. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Moving on to item number 6. Proclamation designating Gladys Mckissick Day. I am honored to proclaim today Gladys Mckissick Day, and you will see why as I read this proclamation. City of Shenandoah official proclamation honoring Gladys Mckissick on her 105th birthday. Whereas Gladys Mckissick will be honored by friends and relatives in celebration of her 105th birthday on September 15, 2022. And whereas Gladys Viola Schultz Mckissick was born the fourth of 9 children in Karnes City, Texas on September 17, 1917. And whereas Winston Thomas Mckissick married Gladys on March 25, 1944. And whereas Winston and Gladys were blessed with 3 children, Thomas, Robert, and John, and 2 grandchildren. In fact, one of her children is present with us today. Whereas Winston and Gladys were rice farmers in Alvin, Texas, and McGee, Arkansas, and owned the McGee Motel on Highway 65 until their return to Texas. And whereas Gladys Mckissick became a permanent Texan in 1970 when she returned to Alvin, Texas. And whereas Gladys Mckissick has lived during the most eventful century of this nation's history and has been a model and inspiration to her family and to those who have known her. Now therefore, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Shenandoah, Texas, I do hereby proclaim September 17, 2022 as Gladys Mckissick Day in the city of Shenandoah. And on behalf of the City Council and citizens of Shenandoah, I offer sincere congratulations and best wishes to Gladys Mckissick for many more happy days in the future to share with family and friends. In witness whereof I do hereby set my hand and cause the Great Seal of the City of Shenandoah, State of Texas, to be affixed this 14th day of September 2022. Can you come forward, please? This is, you are the number 3 son, Mrs. Mckissick. There is the proclamation, and we hope that she has many, many, many more days with us and with your family. Thank you, Mrs. Mckissick.
We'll see y'all tomorrow.
All right, moving on to item number 7. Proclamation supporting World Teachers Day. City of Shenandoah official proclamation, World Teachers Day. Whereas Shenandoah's future strength depends on supporting a high-quality education to all students, and whereas teacher quality matters more to student achievement than any other school-related factor, and whereas teachers spend countless hours preparing lesson plans and supporting students, and whereas Conroe ISD teachers have demonstrated great resilience, adaptability, and creativity during the COVID-19 crisis, and whereas our community recognizes and supports its teachers in educating the children of this community, and whereas Teachers Can is a statewide movement supported by more than 125 partnering businesses and organizations committed to elevating the teaching profession and honoring the critical role teachers play in the success of Texas. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Shenandoah City Council joins Teachers Can and its partnering entities across Texas in celebrating World Teachers Day and proclaims October 5, 2022 to be Shenandoah Teachers Day. And be it further resolved that the Shenandoah City Council encourages members of our community to be a light for teachers and personally express appreciation to our teachers and display a light blue ribbon outside your homes or businesses the week of October 5 as a symbol of support to our educators. In witness thereof, whereof, I do hereby set my hand and cause the Great Seal of the City of Shenandoah, State of Texas, to be affixed this 14th day of September 2022. I think that's a wonderful thing. I think teachers are, we have a teacher here with us, and I think teachers are so important in our life and in our society that that's the least that we can do. All right, moving on to item number 8. Discussion and possible action to adopt the following ordinance. An ordinance by the City Council of the City of Shenandoah, Texas, declining to approve the change in rates requested in Entergy Texas Incorporated, or statement of intent filed with the city on August 31st, 2022, and finding and determining that the meeting at which this ordinance was considered was open to the public and in accordance with state law.
Council, you're probably familiar with these ordinances by now. On the recommendation of the Lawton Law Firm, you'll see their letter in the agenda pack. They're recommending that we decline the rate increase per Entergy Texas state of intent.
Motion we adopt the ordinance as written.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Brott to adopt the ordinance, seconded by Councilman Raymaker. We have any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 9. Discussion and possible action regarding the general fund surplus and reserve funds.
Mayor and Council, in August of 2020, we adopted the 180-day reserve balance policy that requires 180 days of expenses to be covered in a restricted fund. The policy also has explanation of what those funds can be used for, how it will be replenished, items like that. So this, and in the past 2 years, we've used budgeted surpluses to basically replenish that fund. So this year, the amount that needs to be moved into the fund would be $9,091.45. Also, we had one project that was budgeted out of cash this year. It's the design work for the city municipal hall parking improvements, which construction will take place in the 23-24 fiscal year. So I did put that on this agenda with the option to allocate part of that reserve, budget surplus towards that project.
So I just want to make one clarification. You said to replenish the fund. The fund's never been used.
No, it's
So
just,
yeah.
yeah.
I just want to make sure that everybody understood that it's to top it up, to keep it at 180 days.
Yes, to keep it at 180 days, yes.
Keeping up with the costs. And
Yes.
so that's, I just want to clarify that.
Yeah, that's to keep up with the 28,008 per day cost.
Exactly. I'm fine for using budget surplus or available cash balance. It really, it ends up being the same.
Yeah. It's just
how-
a
just how we look
transparency
at-
thing.
yeah.
Item to show you when we brought in budget surplus. It's a transparency.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Do you have a
Lisa.
motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
A second.
We have a motion to approve by Councilman McLeod, seconded by Councilman Pollard. Any discussion, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 10, discussion and possible action to create a fund for the Texas Water Development Board loan.
Mayor and council, with talks with the auditors, and the nature of how the loan proceeds work, it's a reimbursement process. So, we submit costs to the Board of Texas Development Board loan. They then reimburse us. So just to keep it clean, transparent, and not mingle with water sewer regular funds, we decided its own fund would be appropriate. There will be a note in this year's audit that indicates that we've moved expenses out of the current fund into the new fund, and it's just a transparency item to disclose that. It doesn't hurt our audit in any way, but that's just, so this fund will be Fund 620.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve by Councilman McLeod, seconded by Councilman Fletcher. Any discussion? Again, this is to pay off the water loan, that this is no additional cost to our
There's
citizens.
no cost, it's just to record the expenditures and the revenues
Correct.
into one fund, so it's traceable
So it's
and
easier to-
easier to track.
It's easier to
Easy to
track.
track.
This is for the accounting, yeah.
Okay, all right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 11, discussion and possible action to approve the investment policy.
Mayor and council, this is a routine item that needs to be approved every year. This is the city's investment policy. Currently, and for the past 11 years, the only authorized investments that are allowed per the policy are money market accounts in the city's main depository bank, which would be Allegiance Bank, certificates of deposit, which is a CD, and local government investment pool, which we're currently enrolled with the tax pool. So we do have money in there that collects a higher interest. Public Funds Investment Act is pretty restrictive when it comes to governments and what you can invest, rightfully so. So these are three that are very low risk, almost no risk, and they're just the three that we allow. And then also in the policy, it explains the reporting that needs to be done. You get quarterly investment reports, and it includes other items with the policy.
I move that we approve the 2022 investment policy.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Fletcher to approve the policy, seconded by Councilman Raymaker. Any further discussion?
I was just gonna say, we've updated the policy a couple times in the last 5 years, but we're good now.
Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? The motion carries. Item number 12, discussion and possible action to approve purchases from the Equipment Replacement Fund and Asset Forfeiture Fund.
Mayor and council, the police department comes to you today to request taser replacement out of the equipment replacement fund, which it has a budgeted amount of $42,684. The request is for $37,776. Most of this is due to faulty tasers, out of warranty tasers, and expired tasers. And then the second request is also a restricted purchase, so that's why it's on this agenda. It's out of the asset forfeiture account, and it's for an advanced laser trajectory finder kit and professional fingerprint magnifier. Asset forfeiture funds can be restrictive what they can be used for. These are approved purchases. Currently, the asset forfeiture account has about $13,000 in it. I forgot to add it to the agenda, so just for knowledge. And if you have any questions about the specifics, Troy can answer those. And I promise this is my last agenda report tonight.
You're doing so well.
I promise.
I move that we approve the purchases from the equipment
Discussion?
replacement fund and asset forfeiture fund.
Discussion?
It'll be after
Oh,
that.
Okay, both of that.
still learning. Sorry.
We have a motion to approve the purchase from the
Second it.
equipment replacement by Councilman Fletcher and seconded by Remick.
I didn't second it yet, but Jim can.
Oh, I was going to ask for discussion. I thought I was supposed to do that.
I'll second it.
Now we'll do discussion.
Councilman Remick, seconded. Any discussion?
Yes, on that advanced laser trajectory finder kit, is that something we've had before, and have we used it before?
No, we have not had it before. It is something that we've utilized either from somebody's personal kit that they've purchased on their own and then brought to the police department. That was what was utilized at the last shooting that we had, or we've utilized Montgomery counties. So this will help us have our own kit that we can utilize during any type of, it's for finding the trajectory of projectiles.
This is the one that Sergeant Joel Gordon
Yes, sir.
was able to charge someone for shooting that guy at the steakhouse?
Correct, yes. And that was actually one of the officers' personal equipment that he
Okay,
had.
so we haven't had one.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Any further discussion? No? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 13, discussion and possible action to award a contract for Vision Park Pond excavation project.
Yes, Mayor and Council. Bids were received last Thursday for the Vision Park excavation Phase 1 project. There were 15 bids submitted.
Wow.
The room was quite full when we did our bid opening, with proposals ranging from just under $1 million to almost $2 million. So Sterling Site Services submitted the lowest base bid at $951,000.56. If you recall, there is a agreement with Residences at Metro Park LLC, and so there will be a cost share on the hauling, 50-50 split there, and then 100% for the spreading compaction. So with that agreement, it's going to drop the anticipated expenses down to $721,000. The project currently has $1.3 million funded. So staff is recommending awarding the project to Sterling Site Services. Say that 3 times fast.
We had worked with these people before on any projects?
Yeah, so Blyle Engineering reached out to the references. They were familiar with the company. They had good references, and they had worked on projects of this scope before.
And they passed their,
Yes. Yes, Blyle Engineering made recommendation of award.
15 bids is an awful lot. What's the typical number of bids that we've gotten in years past?
It fluctuates, normally, 3 or 4 bids. This was, I think this is a new record for the city. The last was 12 bids for the Pinecroft project. But we were very happy with getting so many bidders for this project.
In your analysis, why are we getting so many bids these days?
I think from what I've talking with contractors, they really enjoy working with the city. We work well with them, and they really like that we pay our bills.
I'll make a motion, we approve.
Second.
No, keep going, keep going.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm still learning. I noted, in looking at the paperwork on this, that the top bid was $1,897,850. We had budgeted $1,350,000.
Correct.
Because we're getting so many bids, and you got, in the past, if we only had a couple of bids to select from, we could really be, the city could be in really bad shape as far as financial long-term viability.
Right.
My math, simple math, is that you saved $946,850 if we had to take that top bid, if from the highest to what we actually got. And also from the bid that you got, and what you had budgeted, you got $951 versus $1,350,000. We're saving $399,000 from your budget. And I'll put a lot of that onto you, Joseph, and your team for securing bids like this to get the contractors wanting to do business with us, and you professionally representing us. So my hats are off to you for this.
Thank you, and I really appreciate that. And it really is a team effort with Blyle Engineering helping with this. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
I spoke about this a lot in the spring. Our reputation has gone up so much. When I first got on council, we could hardly get anybody to bid on anything. But the better your reputation is in the region, the more people want to work with you, and I think Derek can swear to that as well.
Not only that, but the negotiation with Metro Park also to share the expense of the moving of the dirt is also commendable. I think looking out for the city all the time, that's what we like. Thank you, Joseph.
Thank you.
We have a motion by Councilman Pratt to approve.
And I second.
And seconded by Councilman Raymaker. Any additional discussion?
No, good work, everybody.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you to Blyle Engineering as well. Good effort.
And also, thank you, City Administrator. I know that people tell me that they like working with our administrator, so
Absolutely.
thanks,
Thank you,
hats
sir.
off to you too.
I appreciate that.
That's a huge part of the reputation.
That's right. Let's go for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 14, discussion and possible action to approve an amended agreement with Memorial Hermann Hospital.
Motion to approve the easement.
Yeah, this is, all this is our previous agreement where they issued easements. We didn't have the easement which actually connected their meters to our system, so this simply amends the agreement to add that in.
Thanks, Bill.
I'll second.
I made motion, Ted. Second.
Motion by Councilman Raymaker and seconded by Councilman Fletcher. Any discussion?
Is this related to the pipe, the size of the pipe? Is this the one that's related from 4-inch to 8-inch?
No, this is going to be regarding, it is the water line that we've been replacing, but they also put in a new meter. So basically, this just gives us access to those meters because we need to have an easement because the city maintains those meters.
Okay, thanks.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 15, discussion and possible action to adopt the following resolution. A resolution of the Council of the City of Shenandoah, Texas, appointing members to the Board of Directors of the Shenandoah Municipal Development District.
Council, per ordinance, the presiding officer of the MDD, the president, recommends a nominee to the mayor, and then the nomination or the appointment has to be confirmed by council.
And I have communicated with the president of the MDD board, and he has conveyed his selection of Mr. Jim Wallace
Okay.
for the position. Do I have a motion?
Motion to appoint Jim Wallace to the MDD board.
We have a motion by Councilman Raymaker to appoint Jim Wallace to the MDD board,
Second.
seconded by Councilman Pollard. Any discussion?
Yeah, I wanted to thank Director Hoover for, I know he's not here, but I wanted to thank him for the service that he's put in over the years for the MDD board and the improvements that he brought to the cash flow working with Lisa. So wanted to thank him for that.
And with the applicant's permission, I'd like to keep those two remaining on file.
We will.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
Keep the applicants.
Get the applicants.
The additional applicants.
Additional applicants. File.
Jano and John.
I had the opportunity, as anybody did, that pulled up everything to review the applicants, and I was very pleased to see that we've got so many capable people in our community, very intelligent and astute people that have applied. So thank you for applying. Two of them are in the room, and I thought they were very impressive resumes. I hadn't seen them before, very impressive. I'd also like to congratulate Mr. Wallace. I was blown away. The guy's even got 19 years media experience, I mean heavy media experience, which I kind of like. 19 years in newspapers, believe it or not, in magazines. So anyway, all of these people were outstanding, and congratulations to all. To
Mr.
him.
Wallace is overseas, or he would have been here tonight. He just wanted to let you all know that.
And I'll just comment too, as a statement of fact, as I had in the past, that regarding my seat on the MDD, unbeknownst to me, Mr. Hoover was in the process of resigning when I made the comment. I will continue to hold true to the comment. I felt it was inappropriate at this point to eliminate 2 seats right off the bat. So I think it's probably better that I wait till beginning of the year before I make that move. But as I have in the past made comments, I've always kept my word, and I will continue to do so.
I also want to comment to make sure that the people who don't know what the process is, like the city administrator mentioned, that by ordinance, the selection from the candidates is made by the president of the MDD board. And the recommendation is passed on to me to put on the agenda. So there's no political favoritism here. This is an independent choice made by a totally different body than this council. All right, so, all right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Item number 16, discussion regarding Halloween safe streets.
Council, I'll open this discussion. We've deliberated back and forth about the Halloween event. For 2 years, we've done the parade. It started out due to COVID, just to maintain that safe distance and still offer the residents an event on Halloween. We continued it the second year, partially for the same reason. It was overall very well received, but we've heard 1 or 2 comments that some people wanted to discuss possibly revisiting Halloween safe streets or looking at some alternatives. So That's the purpose of this discussion. You'll see on the agenda report that we budgeted for the parade, which is significantly less expensive. So the estimated budgetary impact of going back to a Safe Streets type event is shown here on your agenda report.
Go ahead.
That's all right. I want to make a comment that this is my own personal feeling. I always liked Safe Streets. I never did really like the parade. I know it was necessary during COVID and such. I too would like to go to Safe Streets, but I also hear the police department. I hear all the concerns about parking and traffic and overtime, and there's a lot of things. What I'd like to propose to council, if they so deem this, is to form a committee and talk about all the pros, the cons, or whatever, and bring back some sort of Safe Streets. Or maybe not in what we had before, but
A Halloween type event, yes, sir.
Halloween type event.
Right. I think that's a great idea, and, get some input. The reality is that the community has grown, and the majority of the attendance is from outside the city. So, get parking is a serious concern. Traffic, we don't want children running across busy streets. There are limited areas that we could hold such an event anymore.
I'd like to see not only council members, one or two, but residents that feel both ways, whether they want, and a PD officer or someone you designate, chief, be on that committee.
We would love to have some residential input, especially those with young children who would participate in such an event.
Yeah, I agree with Charlie. I'd kind of like to reinvent the event.
Yeah, maybe we look at something, maybe host an event at the park as opposed to shutting down streets, and that creates another, that's just throwing out an idea here, right? That takes care of the kids running through the streets. And
I would even consider Wood Forest Stadium because we got plenty of parking there as well, and it's logistically probably easy to do, but we could do it at Public Works. We just need to talk about how we would do it.
As I say, if we're worried about budgetary, then that probably wouldn't go well.
It's not a budget issue.
CISD.
We were just letting you know what the estimate is.
So I think that Halloween Safe Streets is probably, in talking with the residents, probably the second or third greatest event that the city does. Lighting of the Angels obviously being one, and then, Easter probably being the second. And I think that, at least the comments that I've heard, and I kind of stand with you, Charlie, on that. It is my personal belief that, I think the last safe street that we had was probably a bad example of a safe street for us, because I don't think it was effectively planned out as far as looking at streets and parking and how traffic flows, especially in that area, because it was pretty much one way in, one way out. And you'd mentioned that Halloween Safe Streets is now predominantly outsiders. How do we support those numbers? I mean, do we know how many people from the outside are actually coming in comparison to those that are here inside of our community?
Wasn't it the drop in the consumption of the candy?
I can.
Well, I think the drop of the candy was.
I can answer that. So from observation from working, I understand the nostalgia and the history behind Halloween Safe Streets. I do. I've been a part of it for 25 years, so trust me, I've seen it grow from an event that was from the valley to expanding, and that's where we that have our issue, is that it was an event that was housed primarily in the valley before we had any other subdivisions, and families were able to walk to the event, and that we didn't have cars and all that being an issue. But since the city has grown and expanded, the parking became an issue, cars became an issue. We have vehicles coming from the other side of the interstate, but I've been a part of that event. So I've seen it, and I know, and I've known the people. So I can tell you that a lot of the people that came in 2019 were not residents, a large portion of them. In 2019, we ran out of candy significantly fast. There was well over 1,000 people that were there during that time. And we just, the event has just grown beyond what I consider to be a safe event. And that's my concern. Again, I understand it. I've been a part of it. My family would come up here during the event too. But after a while, I told them, hey, y'all need to stay home because it's starting to get a little crazy up here. But there's several concerns that I have beyond just the vehicle parking. It's the fact that the cars park in the streets, and kids are walking between these cars to get to the barricaded area. And to me, that poses a safety issue. The other issue that I have is that there's people coming from outside. We don't know who these people are, and we don't know if they have any nefarious intentions for the city, and that's a concern of mine. We're doing the best we can right now to keep the crime at bay, and y'all know that I keep beating the drum that the crime is going to continue to come this way. And my concern is that it only takes one person. It takes one person to come in our residence and use this event as an opportunity to scout out the residents and use it as a future target. And then we have an additional problem. And then thirdly, one of the big issues that I have is that with the parade, we controlled the candy from start to finish. We purchased the candy. Candy was brought to the police department. City staff helped the police department bag the candy. And then with the city staff, we loaded it onto the trailer. We had the parade, and you as well as city staff issued the candy directly to the kids. So that was constantly supervised by law enforcement and city staff. With the Halloween Safe Street, the problem is, unfortunately, in today's society, there are people out there that have nefarious intentions. And when we distribute this candy to the residents, we no longer see this candy until the event starts. And it only takes one person to walk up to a candy bowl and drop in a fentanyl-laced candy into the bowl. And this is a city-sponsored event. And being that this is a city-sponsored safety event, that poses a huge liability for the city. And so it's those are some concerns that I have. I get it. I loved the event. When it was small, when it was just the valley, I loved it. It was really cool. But since it's grown so much and so many outside people are coming in, it just became logistically a huge issue. And I know in 2019, yes, you're correct. It was it wasn't planned well. The location wasn't planned well. And that's part of the history too, is it would move around from location to location. And there's absolutely no way we could do that at this point. It would have to be centralized in one location, and that is totally it. But I totally agree. I think it would be great if we would have a committee formed and spend the next year trying to come up with a great event. I get it. I know there's a lot of residents that are disappointed. I'm disappointed too, but it's just grown beyond what I feel it's safe.
Yeah. I think I'm disappointed that we're talking about it 30 days before it's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Because we should have formed the committee back in January, not in September.
Right. Yes.
If that's what we were going to do.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be a discussion today as to what we're going to do in a month.
Right.
Well, that was partially my fault, because
Well, you weren't
I
right.
heard, no, but earlier,
So that's not your fault.
it should have gone on the agenda sooner. The question was raised a few weeks ago by some of our residents on some of the social media platforms. And I noticed that there was a lot of interest and a lot of questions as to why, it wasn't happening, Safe Streets wasn't happening. So to resolve this issue, I asked the city administrator to put it on the agenda, let's discuss this, so we can address this directly, officially, with the citizens, in front of the citizens.
Yeah.
But you're right, we shouldn't be discussing this.
Don't put it all on yourself, John, because
No, we all had a part of
we've
that.
had opportunity preparing for budget workshop, the sessions that we did, was not mentioned at budget workshop at all. I know Kathy pinged us, and nobody said anything to Kathy, so, I mean, you just kind of, oh, you did, I didn't know. Okay. I didn't know that, okay, but anyway, I didn't hear anything.
I wouldn't say no.
Okay.
And again, the fact that we can, as a city, in this case, guarantee streets, that the safe streets, part of the celebration. I mean, it's, like you
Very
mentioned.
valid point. So.
Yeah, we can't guarantee that, we can do our best
I mean, I
by
like,
controlling the issuance of the candy and all that, but then, we're opening ourselves, and I'm sure that
Yeah,
the city attorney would back me up on this.
First of all, I could not agree more with establishing a committee. That, as somebody said, putting parents with children who participate on this committee is critical. Because what Bill Farabee, with no kids at home, wants is fairly meaningless. The same token, we have to have police participation. I don't want to be an ogre, but from a legal side, if we're going to put on an event and we're going to call it Safe Streets, we're advertising it's safe.
Yeah.
And we need to, that puts an additional burden on us. So is that a name we want to use? I personally believe a good committee will come up with an event better, maybe different, but better than our old Safe Streets, because it'll be directed to the kids of today and what they want and what their parents want.
well, you make valid points there, because what I was concerned about, like, by calling it Safe Streets in today's age and how people have gotten so twisted, that it might be a challenge for somebody to make a headline. Hey, I defeated Safe Streets and made national news because Safe Streets was compromised. So I'd like to see us do something else, maybe on a different day as well. So.
I had the good fortune of attending the Shenandoah Civic Club last night to get their feedback on it, and they very much would like to participate on this police department committee. It's a police department event. It's not a civic club event. They would like to participate, and a couple of members have volunteered to help with that committee. And we discussed some ideas, perhaps involving CISD, perhaps involving Portofino Shopping Center, and maybe make it a revenue event for the city. If we're going to, one of our primary objectives is to raise revenue. And so if we can bring some more money into our restaurants and our retailers over that holiday, maybe it's a multiple day, I don't know. But things like that, they would like to participate in and share ideas. I talked to someone else that has a different perspective on it, and she gave me a wonderful number of ideas that we could do this and we could do that to bring money in and to make it cool. I said, okay, well, you're on the committee. And so anyway, people, if you'll think about how we can do something great next year, we need to start putting together now and have a committee going and put something really dynamic. But at this point, there's no way we could change from, in my opinion, from what we're doing now.
Yeah, I think perhaps, I think somebody said the name. I think maybe even immediately going forward, we simply, and I noticed it on these wonderful little calendars we have, it's something called the Halloween event. So I think maybe we can work on that. I think it's a great idea to do the committee, get planning for next year. We know these things take basically a year to plan. Basically, as soon as you're done with one, you need to start planning for the next year. So I guess I'm hearing the consensus is we're going to do the parade one more time, but we're also going to get the community together, and we're going to make a committee and we're going to come up with another event. And so it's not going to be Safe Streets, but it's going to be something pretty cool. Like I said, we don't know what it's going to involve, but we're going to get together. And the important thing with Safe Streets that I think was the big draw, certainly for me and my family, was the ability to go out and spend some time together. And we have these events. We have the Easter egg hunt, and we have the Lighting the Angels, and then we actually have the National Night Out. And all those events are ways we can meet our neighbors and kind of hang out with our neighbors. And this was sort of the fall event that let us do that. Oftentimes for much longer than some of these other events would. And I think that is something I would ask the committee. I don't know how many council members we can allow there, but
Two.
Yeah, so we'll have to figure that out. You know, have to wrestle for that. But in terms of the key here is to bring people together and bring the citizens together and continue our amazing sense of community. However we do this event. So.
I think you're absolutely right, Mike. That's exactly what all of our events are geared to, is to bring the community together and to bring our families together, because that's what makes Shenandoah, you know, what Shenandoah is. It's a great place to live, and to keep that community strong is critically important. You know, and I hope you know, as the committee forms that it. And I'll echo what I said last week, that the one thing that we don't ever forget is that it's not about how it serves the city, but how the city serves the community. Not just our citizens, but also those that participate in creating our budget each and every year by utilizing our restaurants, our hotels, everything that, you know, affords this event. And so, I would caution, you know, the committee not to forget that it's important that being community just isn't Shenandoah, but it's how we represent in the community as well that makes the difference. That it's, you know, again, not necessarily about the revenue that it's generated, because I don't think we've ever planned any community event based on revenues, but more so just creating that community impact altogether. So.
There might be something we can do with Sam Moon too, so.
Right.
Right.
With the, yeah, I agree. And I believe that we can create a new event that suits today's, you know, residents and still maintain that sense of community.
Yeah.
I've been with the city for 15 years, and I've missed one Halloween Safe Streets, and that was because I was sick. I love the event too. And as Chief Dunlap was saying, there are a lot of safety concerns, and we need to be cognizant of that. You know, we read every day, almost every day, that, you know, there's some town that had a shooting or a car plow into a crowd, and it's not always a big city. It's any kind of city, and we don't want anything like that for sure. So.
And as always, I know that a lot of people don't do it, but you're still free to trick or treat in your neighborhoods with your parents.
Yeah, we've never prohibited that.
Yeah.
Having discussed all of this, then let's see how we can put together this committee with the police department and maybe the civic club, working jointly to, first of all, publicize and generate interest from our citizens to participate, those who are willing to, and officially establish that committee.
Yes, sir.
All right, please. Any further discussion?
Nope.
No? All right. Moving on to item number 17, discussion and possible action to adopt the minutes of the July 27, 2022 regular meeting.
I'd like to make a motion, we adopt the minutes. I usually say as read, but I had 2 corrections on there. I just want to share with council that it was stated that Mr. McLeod was not here, and he was.
How'd you do that, Mike?
But anyhow, there was 2, and then there was 1 correction that on the amended motion that Mike made on the 70%. It had Ted Fletcher as the.
Oh, is that right?
But it was Jim Pollard that made the amended second. So
Okay,
those
so
2 corrections were So there's my motion,
Okay,
as
so you-
amended.
You made a motion
Second.
as amended, with the amendments that you discovered.
Second.
Courtney's already fixed it.
Okay, motion to approve by Councilman Brott and seconded by Councilman Raymaker. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 18, city attorney updates.
Nothing tonight.
Nothing tonight, all right. Number 20, city administrator update.
Council, I have just one quick one, reminding everyone that National Night Out is Monday, October 3rd, from 6 to 8 at the park. So we look forward to that event.
Okay, thank you. Council inquiry. Councilman Raymaker,
I'm going to pass tonight.
pass.
So just one thing, because this has kind of come up a lot here, with council being sued by an attorney. My wife was also sued. Her case was dismissed, which I reported here a little over a month ago, and I thought you might want to know that not only was it dismissed, but that attorney was required to pay our attorney's fees because it was a frivolous lawsuit to begin with. As I had mentioned at the beginning, when we were being sued, I think that's what we would come to see. Not to mention that the other frivolous lawsuit that he filed against the Montgomery County police blogger was also dismissed today in court in Galveston. So I would anticipate, as we continue to come along these lines, that those of us that are being sued in the city lawsuit, or named in the city lawsuit, will also find that that case will end up being dismissed. But those that always bring up that concern aren't here, so hopefully they're watching on YouTube tonight, and we'll report that in their blog that they have. That's all I got today.
Thanks, Ted.
I got a phone call from a citizen, a Shenandoah citizen last week, inquiring about the compensation package that we have for Kathy Ryer, and complaining that it was 3 times more than what a police officer makes, and that really it was very out of line, and thought that we need to look into it. I thought, I haven't been here that long, and I don't know much about politics, and I don't know much about any of that, so I asked Lisa to do some background information for us, the facts on where we are with the compensation package for the prior city administrator that left here 6 years ago, what compensation level he was at and what compensation level she is at. And I say he versus she because I think that I think it's nice to point that out. But can you tell us what you discovered?
Yes, so I looked back to 2016. That was a partial year because of the departure of the city administrator. Or no, he left in 17, I'm sorry. 2016 was last year. I had a full year of information. At the end of that year, the total compensation package for the city administrator in 2016 was $243,965.32. You know, and then if hypothetically I did like a 6th year, if it was to continue with the same trend, it would be about $310,000 this year. If the same trend followed with salary and wage increase, car allowance, incentive pay, longevity pay, retirement contributions, and what the city also has to pay on taxes. It does significantly differ from the current compensation package for the current city administrator, Kathy Ryer. It's about, if you look at 2016 to now, the current city administrator had a compensation package that was about $15,000 higher than the current package. And if you were to continue that trend to 2022, it would have been about $310,000. So the difference between that package and the current city administrator's package is about $81,000.
Is inflation involved in there?
I just did a straight 3% raise increase. The city administrator's salary is a little bit different than salary staff and hourly staff on the scale. We're based on a scale base that just has a 3% built in. The city administrator is at the subject of council's approval for a raise.
So I don't have a calculator. This little phone calculator doesn't work so good for me. But if you will be a financial expert, he would be at 310 if he had stayed and got the regular cost of living increase. And we know where she's at. What is the difference between what she's at and the 310 he would be? What percent increase would he be over where she's at now?
About 26%, I believe.
So in my calculations, we're getting, or her calculations, it looks to me like we're about a 26% savings from where we would have been had we had the prior person. So I guess the community can draw their own conclusions, but I think that it looks to me like the numbers speak for themselves.
So with my fast computing mind, it seems like it might take her almost 5-6 years to catch up to where the other fellow was when he left.
Anyway, I wanted to pass that along. I thought that citizen would be here for this, and he had asked me to look into it, and I did, and I passed.
I would say the city's getting one hell of a deal.
Thank you.
Councilman Brown.
I'm good.
Councilman Clark.
I'm good tonight.
Good tonight. All right. I have nothing to add. I want to thank the two other applicants to the MBD for the MBD. Thank you for applying. John, thank you for applying. Thank you for your willingness to serve, continuing to serve the city. There's no executive session scheduled for tonight. So it is 8:01 and this meeting is adjourned.